Welcome to the Department of Computer Science at Indiana University-Purdue University, Fort Wayne, where we offer a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Systems on campus or completely online. An Information Systems degree prepares you for a career in information and data management through an in-depth study of business processes, programming languages, and the analysis and design of information management procedures within an organization. More than an IT degree, the Information Systems Bachelor of Science degree focuses on the many functional areas within an organization. You will gain an executive perspective on project management, the management of data within the organization, and the computing systems which support the IT function. When you graduate with an Information Systems Bachelor of Science degree, you will have practical experience to lead the company by increasing efficiencies and increasing profits for the organization. Former CIO and Director of IT Services at IPFW, Bob Kostrobanic hosts a roundtable discussion among 3 leading corporate officers in successful information systems roles. This discussion highlights the importance of learning the various lines of business within an organization and the methods executives use to manage data and the hardware and software development systems that support those functional areas.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Kostrobanic, CIO and Director of IT Services for IPFW. This afternoon we are having a discussion among 3 other CIOs from various types of industries and healthcare providers here in the city of Fort Wayne. And I'd like to introduce Steve Gilliam, who is the Vice President of IT for PhD Incorporated, Ron Double, who is the CIO of Parkview Health, and Mike Altendorf, who is the Vice President of Do It Best Corporation. We're going to start with a question to you fellows about, explain a little bit about what your business is all about, and also what the importance of IT is to the success of your institution. I'm going to start with Steve.
Sure. At PhD, our business is in manufacturing automation components. So the importance of IT from that standpoint, we really have 2 different tasks in IT. One is from the manufacturing side to help them with the efficiencies out on the shop floor. So things that we can do to shorten that time through the IT infrastructure to keep the costs down and streamline processes. And it's more than just the manufacturing. It could be in the engineering department, accounting, everywhere from that standpoint. The second part of what we do at PhD is we handle a lot of the sales and marketing, so things to do with websites, and lately of tablet apps and mobile apps. So we're creating sales tools so they can go out to our distributors and customers, salespeople from that standpoint.
Parkview Health is an integrated delivery network located here in Fort Wayne. We have a system of hospitals, physician practices, and other healthcare providers. IT is really the enabler of the information of patient care to improve patient outcomes, to look across populations and try to improve health in our communities. So information is really key to all of that work.
Do It Best Corp is basically a distributor. We're a wholesaler and distributor within the hard lines and lumber market. So we support independently owned hardware stores, home centers, and lumber yards. IT is just about everywhere in the organization. We support many of the processes that the company operates. But I like to think of it as we're just as important as any other function within the company. It's just as important as sales or accounting or logistics or marketing. And really there to support the processes that help run the business.
As a healthcare provider, our whole economy is changing in healthcare, as you know, with all the government action in healthcare today. And so we're really moving from a world where we were taking care of patients and making sick people well to a world where we are trying to improve the health of the communities and keep people from getting sick. And so as you make that transition, it really creates an environment where you have to have vast amounts of data from various sources. But I think the key to those IT jobs is pulling in knowledge of what that data is all about.
We're seeing even different people want to use IT in different even areas and departments. So you're seeing the IT professional not always just in IT, just because that's their schooling and background. So we'll see them in other places. We have an automation type program or devices that we sell Some of the stuff we're getting into is using more electronics and programming and stuff like that. So you're using controls and things to control robots, for instance, or something going down an assembly line, you need somebody to control that kind of thing. So a lot of that is really getting outside of what the traditional IT would be. You know, the traditional IT being just inside of a computer program and looking at a screen. So we're seeing quite a variety. As I mentioned in the intro, we're getting into iPad apps and sales and marketing. So the sales and marketing IT professional is really a hybrid that we're starting to see, at least in our business. So the key things that we're looking for is people to understand, you know, can they help us save money by whatever they're doing, creating a program that creates efficiencies, or are they going to make us money?
Bob, I'll talk a little bit about from the distribution perspective, but I'll first even start nationwide. I think there's really a healthy demand for information technology workers across the country. The trend is reversed from looking to offshore for outsourcing a lot of IT. There's a lot of companies now bringing those jobs back to the United States, and that's putting a lot of extra demand in the market for information technology. And I think we're also fortunate here in Northeast Indiana to have a lot of opportunities for students that are studying technology and information technology. There's even some categories within information technology which are even in higher demand. And you know, Ron talked about the need for getting data right and the data analytics, and that's certainly a really strong area in the market right now.
But I think more of our roles today, especially in healthcare, is that merger of a healthcare worker with a technologist. You're first a healthcare worker and next you're a technologist. What we really like to find is people that have that merger, if you will, of the technology and healthcare background. So we have a lot of nurses who have gone back to school for technology so that they have the nursing experience and the technology experience, and together that makes a really powerful combination. But I also do think there are some jobs that are just people in the back room working through problems, resolving issues, and making sure things run well. So it's a combination.
I've been working with a company here in town in business process re-engineering and in project management, so, but the guy that pockets me most often is the vice president of marketing. He wants to know, what can I use in IT to improve what my salesmen are doing out there? What do you see in this for Do It Best?
Well, actually, our marketing department is one of our biggest clients internally with lots of ideas for processes to automate, and certainly with the growth of data analytics, that's another real important area. So, you know, building a good business intelligence foundation, being able to build a good database and data warehouse, and then the tools to go after that data, as Ron was talking about earlier. That's something of high interest in a lot of companies, and certainly marketing departments today are more and more into data analytics, and that's really a growing area.
Let's hone in a little bit more on specific skill areas that a graduate should have when you look at it from your business angle. And let's talk about programming. What's programming skills and languages do you see among your businesses, and then perhaps some of your peers in your various industries?
You know, I think one of the more popular ones right now would be C#. You know, if you're looking at actual development skills. But kind of touching on some of the things we've already talked about, really a knowledge of the other functional areas can serve a developer really, really well. And you know, I agree with what Ron said earlier. You can have some technology people that just focus on technology, and I think they can have a successful career. But if somebody really wants to grow in their career and grow in leadership and grow in the impact they can make on an organization, knowing a little bit more about the functional sides of the business, the different business elements, will really serve them well and help them design and build better applications.
Our workforce is becoming very mobile in healthcare, so anything that allows them to interact mobile with the mobile technology is important. You know, we have to start looking at how do we get out to, you know, SharePoint technologies, all the different web technologies that are out there are really important, and not necessarily an application language, but a technology platform that's really important and growing in our industry.
And I think we're seeing, you know, along the languages, and we've moved from language to language as things have changed throughout the years. I think the object-oriented type languages are the key. Anything that gets into databases and, you know, that SQL is a language as itself. We still have some old legacy, which is harder and harder for us to find. We do stuff in COBOL, and a lot of people may not even know what COBOL is. They'd have to look it up in the history book, but we use it every day still, an RPG for our main business line systems. And there's not going to be an easy transition for us to move into that, so we still need somebody to take that on.
That brings up the subject that's a little allied to that, and that is stuff that's going on in the cloud. You know, you can go out to the cloud and you can get software as a service, you can get platform as a service where you have tools to develop, and you don't have to do that and buy those tools and licenses. And then you also have infrastructure as a service. Where do you see that going, and how would a graduate fit into that sort of a thing? I know some of my students say, well, gosh, am I going to be able to find a job? Well, in my opinion, you'll find more jobs as to what's going on. So what do you see going on?
Absolutely. First of all, somebody's building the cloud applications and infrastructure and those components, so there will certainly be opportunities in that area. But nothing works on an island. And you know, if you're going to utilize anything that's delivered from the cloud, there's still a lot of work to be done internally, from integration to security and networking, and there's just lots of components. It's just part of the overall growth in the needs for technology.
It's really just moving what you've always done to a different location. It's really, you're doing a lot of the same work, it's just somewhere else. And that somewhere else is the cloud in this case.
Yeah, I think that cloud opens up the opportunity of where people can be, and they don't have to physically be at a location, so they can be somewhere else. So I think that's opening up the possible pool for us. Sometimes it's nice to have them so I can walk outside my office and chat with them, but we do a lot of stuff with some remote people as well, and so that cloud, it really helps us get that done.
What about enterprise-wide systems like ERP and customer relationship management systems, supply chain management in the distribution? Are you experiencing the need and see the opportunity for students to be involved in that?
First of all, it depends on where a student wants to work. You know, some companies are really into the ERP, and then there's specific ERPs. And if you're targeting a company and they're operating that system, it would be wise to get some background in that area. Other companies like ours, we're taking a little different approach right now, and it just depends on the business model, and our business model is really just dictating a different approach, and we're better off at selecting or building applications specific for our needs and just making sure we can integrate those very well.
Yeah, we use ERP pretty heavily, from being a manufacturing, from logistics. The product offering that we have over 450 million different products that could be generated. It's a configurable product, and we build to order, so we don't build to stock. So from our standpoint, having that understanding of how production works and supply and shipping and receiving, so you have a lot of logistics going on from that standpoint to understand that side of the business, and then you use the ERP system to get you to be effective in that.
Parkview has just implemented a new electronic health record for all of our ambulatory practices and our hospitals. That is now taking data from all different places where we might treat a patient and bringing it all together. So again, there was a need as we went to roll that out. You had to have the back-end data center folks who were setting up the server farms, who were setting up all the technology in the data center. You had to have the end user devices, the people who were out learning the workflows of the physicians, the caregivers, and even the patients, and what kind of devices the patients want to connect to us with were all important. So you had the people out having to learn all about the end user devices, and how do I make it easy for those constituents to be able to connect in and to that system. Then you had the configurers, the folks who were taking all the data from all the different workflows and building the system or configuring the system to function. There wasn't any real coding of the system. The days of doing hard coding was not there, but there is a lot of configuration management, understanding how the different pieces fit together. And as I configure this piece of the puzzle, how does that flow into the next piece of the puzzle? And so we had a large team just focused on configuration management. And so now we're collecting all this data. It's helping the caregivers to have the right information available when they want to do their work. But now what do I do with all this data? I need to use this data to work to improve those outcomes, look for best practice, to look at cross populations and see if there's something that I can do to significantly impact the care or the health of that group. So I think there's lots of areas when you look at that. You've got the end user devices, you've got the back end data center tools, you've got the actual configuration of the system, and many, many more in that process. So a lot of opportunities for IT professionals.
Now, Ron brings up working in the user area and understanding what's going on. So the real question is understanding the business. You're making a great case for instance, in Do It Best, how much do the IT people get involved in what's going on in a distribution company?
And I love to get our IT folks out to experience different parts of the functional areas of the company. So, get them out to one of our distribution centers and see how things are working and understand the process flow. And that adds a lot of value as they design technologies to help automate some of those processes. And there's another role that's really growing for IS majors, and it's kind of the role of business analyst. And a business analyst can really fit on the IT side of an organization or within a functional area. And that's really somebody that not just works on automating processes, but looks first at how can I improve the process, and then the automation. And the person needs to be knowledgeable enough about IT to know what's practical and what's accessible in the way of data, and kind of a high level how things can be designed and work. But they also really need to know the processes and have that confidence that they can improve the processes along with getting the automation component done.
For manufacturing, Steve?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We've got a project now where we're trying to work with some logistics, working with shipping. After we generate something on one of our products, we send it outside for an external process, hard coding or something like that. And there was a logistics problem of getting that information to the vendor and getting it back in an efficient way and in the correct way. So one of our IT guys had to go out and meet not only with the manufacturing and say, where's the problem at, what can we do, but they had to go out and visit with the vendor and understand what their aspect is. So then they came back and they're putting together a way with a label and barcoding and them kinds of things that's going to collect that data, so it'll work on both sides. So not only just for us, but helping that external vendor out is going to help that whole return process for us and really tighten that streamline. That's just a for instance. And we've got a lot of others where we're going out on the sales and marketing side, working with customers and our distributor salespeople and saying, okay, how are you using this tool? What can we do from the user interface to make it better, or what problems you have? And so the most effective way to get that is going out and visiting them.
As we've been talking about specific skills that are needed and experiences that are needed on the part of a student who now graduates and you're hiring them into your company, do you give training on the areas that you're using, whether it's in language or it's in specific applications and so on?
We assign a mentor. We put them in the department to really, the department that they're going to be supporting or the department they're going to be working with, to really get them to understand the workflows. So a lot of that. On the back end technology, it's specific on what the person is going to be using as to what we train them in. So we do send a lot of our staff away to classes, to training to meet that need, but it's more of a as needed basis. Now, as we've moved to our new electronic health record, that vendor actually requires, as part of a program that we've entered into, that in order to work in the system, that you have to go through their training classes and be certified to work on the system. And so in that case, we are sending large numbers of people to their training and their education classes, getting them certified. There aren't specific certifications that they have to have in general, but specific to that application and that function that they're serving on that application, we do have some training.
We have a formalized training when a new employee comes in. We send them through different areas of the business. So we send them to manufacturing. They actually have to put together and assemble product. They go to marketing, they go to accounting, they go to different areas just to understand the business. And that's usually the first couple weeks of employment before they actually get in and do anything for us.
As far as bringing somebody new on board, one of the ways that we initiate training is through a mentorship program, so assigning somebody to work with that individual. We also have a training coordinator within our IT department, and so there's a number of specific applications that IT training coordinator will put classes together on. And beyond that, we try to focus on our platforms and the different technologies that we use so that we could leverage the training on those specific technologies. So things like SQL Server is our database of choice. And then, so when we do training, we'll focus any database training just on SQL Server as an example. So there is some very specific training, and then there's some general things in the way of mentoring.
Mm-hmm. Are there specific certifications that you're looking for?
Yeah, it depends on the skill set you're looking to fill, but I think right now one of the better certifications that can help students if they're interested in project management is to be project management certified. And then in other areas like networking or in security, I think a certificate can make a difference. But in general, we don't have a hard requirement for certifications for specific jobs.
Okay. What are we doing with business intelligence? Are we moving into that area? Are you already using it? What kind of skills are required, and what use are you making of it?
We've used data for a long time, and you collect a lot of information, and it seems like we've collected a lot, and in our business, because we haven't moved to that next level yet, a lot of report writing has to be done, so you have to get a programmer to write a report, and so we have, I don't know, 1,000 reports that are generated probably daily and more than that weekly that go out to different individuals and they look at it. Clearly what the business and the new technology of today is giving people the ability to do their own drill down, point and click and use these web graphical interfaces to go in and so they don't have to necessarily involve IT to write code to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's really where our goal is where we want to get to, and I know a lot of companies have already moved to that and had successful programs in there.
There's no question that data analytics is important for the business, and actually to jump up on the soapbox for a minute, there's probably few things more important to IT than really getting the data right, and that's a lot easier said than done. Mm-hmm. But really working on getting data structured correctly for the business is a first step, and then putting it in a format so that you can access it for the data analytics is a step that follows on to that, but is much easier if you get it right to begin with. And we are working on putting together a standard set of tools, much like Steve said, tools that are available for anybody in the company that they can be trained on it and be able to go in and access the data on their own and manipulate the data and run reports and do that type of thing. A little bit of self-serve IT, if you will, but it starts with getting the data right. And then you do need to focus on a set of tools and make sure you're consistent with that, so you can leverage the training like I talked about earlier, and tools that can be familiar to non-technical professionals as well.
And I'd like to add on, I think the old saying of garbage in, garbage out, and that's the thing that I think that we find in the IT space, and I'm sure talking from you guys, you find that as well, that you put in these systems, and if it's not utilized right, so the IT professional has to work with them outside departments and help them understand and come up with a process that will make sure that data is accurate.
In healthcare, we're highly regulated, and we have to keep that protected health information confidential. And so how do we manage all this data so that others can't get access to it? The people who need to know have access, but the people who don't need it can't get to it. And so I think data security is one of our biggest growth areas that I see in the next few years.
Working in knowledge management systems is another big growth area in information technology. I don't know if you guys are working in that area yet or not, but.
No, you're right, Bob. That's a very important area, especially with the generation of baby boomers already in the retirement mode at the early stages of it. And yeah, there's no doubt there's a lot of knowledge that can go out the door, so that having knowledge management systems in place to capture that are really important.
I'd like each of you to give just a summary of the importance of information systems and technology as a person working to better the business in your particular industry. So Steve.
Yeah, I'd mentioned earlier, I think if somebody's looking at to better the business, they are looking how they can save money for the company or make money for the company.
If we're to reduce costs and reduce cost over the country as a whole in healthcare, we've got to be able to start using our information more effectively, so we don't repeat tests, so we don't have the same diagnosis 3 times, that we don't have to repeat over and over the same processes, that all that information comes together in one place. And so the key to that is information technology. If we can't pull that information together, our costs will continue to be high as a country, and so we're just trying to really reduce that.
Mike?
Our sweet spot lives in the supply chain, and we're all about improving efficiency within the supply chain, and you can't do that without technology, certainly. And that includes operating with outside parties, so sharing information with shippers and with vendors, and with getting a view into the flow of materials through the supply chain, and just ways of more efficiently and better handling through the supply chain is really important. So certainly, a knowledge of the supply chain coupled with the knowledge of technology is really important for us.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be part of this discussion. It's been very good, and we appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you have questions about our degree programs, academic minors, or our instructors, and our new online courses, visit our website at ipfw.edu/cs or call 260-481-6803.